Next up, I'll be talking with Simon Marr, the Managing Director of Marr Contracting, aka the Men from Mars, who are world leaders in the design and delivery of heavy lift luffing tower crane solutions. We'll be talking about Marr's solution for the construction of what will be the world's longest span suspension bridge. But first up, we've got a short video to share about this amazing project.
On completion, Turkey's 1915 Çanakkale Bridge will be the longest span suspension bridge in the world, 4.6 kilometres long, with a central span of more than 2 kilometres. Supported by 318-metre high bridge towers, it will connect Gallipoli on the European side of Turkey with Lepseki on the Asian side. On a project of this scale, the engineering feats are staggering, and so are the heavy lifting requirements. That's why, when the joint venture partners, DLSY, won the contract to construct the bridge, they turned to the men from Mars for help.
The engineering feats on this project they're amazing, and I think for us to get involved so early on in the design of a solution to suit what our client was trying to achieve was really the key to the success of this project. We got involved very early during the design. We were working directly with our client, and together we were developing a solution that we knew would work and was meeting all the requirements of what our client was trying to achieve, which was really about driving down the program time, reducing cost and increasing safety on the project. When they first approached us, they had a methodology which was based on current technology that they knew was available in the market, and we took that away and we said, using our technology, our cranes, our specially designed cranes, you can reduce the amount of lifting that you're doing on the project. So we took what they'd originally planned as being 8 lifts to put a section of the bridge up. We took that and did it in 1 lift.
Using 2 of our Marr 2480D heavy lift luffing tower cranes, each with a lifting capacity of 330 tonnes, our solution allowed large modularised sections of the bridge towers to be fabricated in a controlled environment off-site before being delivered to the worksite for installation. This helped to de-risk the project by taking the fabrication and associated construction tolerances off critical path. The 2 M2480Ds were shipped from Australia to Turkey via Singapore. And in a combined global effort with our engineers from Australia, the UK and Middle East working together, we fabricated specialised equipment for the project in our Middle Eastern fabrication facility. Our first milestone on the project was to assemble both cranes on purpose-built quayside foundations. After building the 300-tonne grillages, the next job was to lift them from the quayside and install them at the bridgework front. Using the 2,200-tonne capacity TAC Lift 4 floating heavy barge crane, the cranes, each weighing 600 tonnes, were lifted from the quayside and transported to the work sites a kilometre offshore on the Çanakkale Strait. It was the first of 2 world-first engineering feats on the project. After climbing the cranes to their final height of 328 metres, the next major milestone was the installation of the upper crossbeam. With the M2480D positioned 328 metres above the water, it took approximately 30 minutes and a lot of planning to lift the 155-tonne section into position and create a new world record for the heaviest lift at height.
From an engineering point of view, the job was a massive challenge, which we love. Earthquakes, high wind, water, and how to keep up with a huge program. But we solved it with the right combination of craneage, people, and teamwork.
After successfully completing the construction of the bridge towers, the M2480Ds were climbed down the completed bridge towers and safely recovered.
I think if you look at how bridges in particular have been built in the past and continue to be built around the world now, and you look at what we have done at Çanakkale, you'll see that it's completely different. It's a game changer for the industry. And I think it really sets the tone going forward about now what's possible.
Hi there, Simon. Thank you for joining us.
Hi Nadine, thanks for having me.
Great. So you talked about how getting involved early on in the design of the project was really key to the success that you've achieved, both obviously from Marr's perspective, but also from the client. So can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. So I think that like in any construction project, setting the method of construction, and in particular the craneage method that's going to support that construction, is really important, and it really can be the cornerstone for a successful project if you get that front end part of your construction methodology set early on. And I think that's something that we are constantly doing with our clients, is getting involved early and really pushing a construction a craneage methodology that suits their construction methodology.
And so for modular projects specifically, what are some of the craneage challenges that you're facing on site compared to more traditional methods of construction?
Yeah, so I suppose we've got these special tower cranes, that heavy duty tower cranes that we've developed, and we've sort of operate them globally. And what they really do is they support modular construction. So when you think about modular construction, I always say to clients, when we're talking at an early stage about how they might want to look at how they're building their project, it's trying to reduce the amount of lifts that we're actually doing on a project. So you can take a project and you can do it in 1,000 lifts, or you can do it in 100 lifts, and it's really trying to push that modular construction into a project and reduce the amount of lifts that you're doing on a project to drive some better outcomes around safety, productivity, and around cost.
And so, I mean, you've already touched on the importance of early engagement with a crane expert and other project stakeholders. Are there any other areas that you think are really important to help tackle those potential craneage challenges?
Yeah, well, I think it's a mindset too, isn't it? So I think one of the challenges we have is coming into a project and traditional methods of construction, and the mindset that sits in the industry about this is how we've always done it. So it's one of the challenges for us is trying to change that mindset, challenging it, and saying there's a better way to do things. There's new technology on the market. Here's something that we can engage into your project that can drive a really good outcome for a project, and we're doing that really successfully globally.
That's a great point. I mean, you've faced a number of big challenges on the project, but I've heard you say that often the biggest challenge you face as a business is getting the industry to think differently about craneage solutions. So what is Marr's philosophy?
Well, it's about how do we align ourselves with the way that you want to construct. I mean, the Çanakkale 1915 bridge is a great example of that. I mean, on that project, the client came to us at a really, really early stage, sort of 2 years out from when we were actually first on site. And they showed us what they were originally thinking about how they were going to build this project, build this bridge. And they asked us to have a look at it and use our expertise that sat within our business to come up with some smarts. And we did. And we took what was going to be, each level of the bridge of the tower was going to be done in 8 lifts. And we joined those lifts together, those panels together, and we lifted them as one. So rather than lift 20-ton panels, we started lifting 160-ton modules. And we use that to drive, a higher level of productivity on the project, a safer project, and we drove the cost right down for the client. Plus, the big benefit to them is the back end, which is the schedule, and we took all that schedule risk out of the project for them. So that early engagement, getting clients to get on board early, to think differently about how they construct, the benefits really sit there for our clients at the back end of the project.
And are you seeing more and more clients quite open to that new way of thinking?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, modular construction is big everywhere. I mean, the UK market is massive for it. And, we're involved in some really large projects in the UK at the moment at an early stage where we're helping the client plan out their construction schedule based on modularisation. And it's, it's our early involvement. It's giving them a tool that was never previously available to them to achieve that program security, schedule security. That's what they want, and that drives down cost. And it makes a safer site. So, I mean, if you think about safety, for example, on a site, lifting activities are one of the riskiest activities you do on a project. And so if we can take some of those activities away from the project so that we're reducing the amount of those risks that exist on a project, then we're making a safer site. And we're also taking cranes out of the project and decongesting it.
And so, I mean, one of the other big kind of things at the top of the agenda for a lot of construction projects is sustainability and the net zero kind of target. So how is Mars kind of really incorporating that thinking into craneage solutions that you're providing for projects?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think that, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that exists, around that topic about sustainability on a project. And when you look at it, our view really is that the biggest contributor, or one of the biggest contributors to a carbon footprint of a project, for example, is time. So if we can reduce time and we can reduce the schedule, then we're reducing the carbon footprint. And we can do that by having, less cranes on a project. We can be taking fabrication away from the project, and modularising, bringing it in, and then doing that actual construction work in a shorter period of time on a project. And if we can be doing that, we really think that we're having a real effect on a carbon footprint of a project.
So, I mean, you've previously spoken about how the approach you adopted for this project is a game changer, not just for bridges, but for other large scale projects. So, are there any other projects that you're applying this thinking to?
Yeah, there are. I mean, there's any infrastructure project, even HS2 is a great example of that. We're sort of getting involved in planning in that project. Bridge construction globally, high-rise construction, data centers is a big one for us as well. Energy production, so power stations, and anything where you have an opportunity to fabricate off-site and bring in larger pieces into a project, and save time through lifting larger modules into position. That's sort of where we're constantly aiming our business towards.
And I mean, on this project, there were a lot of impressive milestones. So, and you've spoken about things that went really, really well. So, were there any aspects on the project that didn't work quite so well, or were perhaps unexpected? And what lessons have you taken from that?
Yeah, I think any project has its challenges. I mean that's everything we do, and I think anyone in construction, if they said there weren't challenges, wouldn't be being truthful. And we had plenty of challenges through that. I mean, the project itself, its location, a kilometre offshore, in a shipping channel. We're exposed to wind, to weather. We're in an earthquake zone. There were, plenty of challenges. We had a really, really tough program we were trying to meet, which we exceeded, which was fantastic. As in, we brought it under time, which was fantastic. And then, obviously, like everyone, we got hit with COVID, so that was probably our biggest challenge. But we managed to get through all that, and the project's been a fantastic success for us, and it's also set the foundation for our client moving forward. I mean, our works on the Çanakkale project on the 1915 bridge was really building the two towers and giving our client a really massive head start in getting that work finished ahead of schedule, to lead them into then the other works around laying the cables, and then obviously now they're just starting to do the building of the deck. Then I think that's been a great benefit that we sort of brought to the project for our client, which has been fantastic.
And is there anything else that we haven't covered that you think is really important to address?
I think probably just around in construction in general, the message we're always trying to get out there is for the need for change in the industry around how we think about construction. And I suppose it's about opening up our minds to new methods, new technologies, new ways to construct. I think that this is a really, really great example of that, where we had a fantastic client who was open to new ideas, who came to us as experts in lifting, especially with tower cranes and especially with heavy lifting tower cranes. And so I think that when you can get a client that sort of brings you in to form part of your team, where you can add your expertise into what they're trying to achieve, and they can see the value you can bring. I think that's a great example of collaboration in the industry. And I think if we can get more of that across the industry, and we can recognise that maybe there are better ways to do things across all facets of construction. I think if we can be pushing that message out there constantly, and especially in our space around tower cranes and heavy lifting and modularisation, I think that's a really great achievement.
That's great. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for your time today. If anyone in the audience has any questions for Simon, please put them in the chat box and we'll share those with him. Thank you.
Thanks, Nadine.